Hi, welcome. Today we are going to talk about Subterror, another exclusive archetype. And an archetype I think is a little bit better right now than Spirals, but this archetype also has a lot of potential. The first one is Subterror Behemoth Stalagamo. I think that's how you say it. It's an Earth Rock flip effect, level 10, 2800 attack, 2100 defense. This card has a flip effect. You can discard one Subterror monster, and if you do, draw 2 cards. You can only use the effect of Subterror Behemoth Stalagamo once per turn. When a face-up monster you control is flipped face down, if you control no face-up monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. Once per turn, you can change this card to face down defense position. So basically, when this card is flipped face up, if you discard a Subterror monster, you draw 2 cards. So draw power. That's pretty sweet. And when a face-up monster you control is flipped face down, if you control no face-up monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. So that's pretty cool that you can special summon it. You can change this card to face down defense position once per turn as well. So that's pretty sweet. So that helps out. So that's the first card. It's pretty sweet. It's draw power. The next card is Subterror Uma Strix. I think that's how you say it. The reptile flip, level 7, attack is 2000, defense is 2700. And it has, you can target one monster your opponent controls, banish it. Okay. You can only use this effect of Subterror Behemoth Uma Strix once per turn. So you can basically target an opponent, you can target one monster your opponent controls and banish it. That's pretty simple. You can only use this effect of Subterror Uma Strix once per turn. So it banishes an opponent's monster. That's never bad. And and you probably want to see that because I didn't show you. And of course it has when a face-up monster you control is flipped face down. If you control no face-up monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. Once per turn you can change this card to face down defense position. This I'm not gonna read anymore because every single card has all the big Subterror cards have this effect. I think the small ones have as well. I haven't looked, but I know the big ones have that. So this card banishes, this card draws. So banishing and draw power, not a bad beginning. And this is Subterror Nemesis Warrior. It's a warrior level 4, 1800 attack, 1200 defense. During either player's turn, you can send one Subterror monster from your deck to your graveyard, tribute this card, and at least one other monster, so the total origin levels tributed equals or exceeds the level of that Subterror monster in the graveyard. And if you do, special summon that monster in face up or face down defense position. If a Subterror Behemoth monster is flipped face up while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use the effect of Subterror Nemesis Warrior once per turn. I like this card. First of all, you can send a Subterror monster from your deck to your graveyard. Pretty sweet. Then you tribute cards on the field. Then you tribute this card and at least one other monster that has levels equal or exceeds the level of the monster in your graveyard. Then you special summon that monster in face up or face down defense position. If a Subterror Behemoth monster is flipped face up, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. You can flip face up. While this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use the effect of Nemesis Warrior once per turn. So you can special summon this card from your graveyard if a Subterror Behemoth is flipped face up. And you can special summon a Subterror Behemoth from your deck by sending cards on the field, this one and another one that exceeds or equals the level of that monster you sent to the graveyard. Which is pretty cool. I mean, this card definitely is a pretty sweet card. I love the artwork of this archetype specifically, but this card is sweet. The Hidden City. When this card, it's a field spell, of course. When this card is activated, you can add one Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. So when this card is activated, you add a card. Pretty simple. Once per turn, you can change a face down defense position Subterror monster you control face up to face up attack or defense position. Once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, You can change one face down defense position Subterror monster you control to face up attack or defense position. Then you can negate the attack you can only activate one hidden city. You can only activate one hidden city per turn. So what I like about this card is, when you activate it, you can add a Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. So that's pretty sweet. Once per turn, you can change one face down defense position Subterror face up attack or defense position. And once per turn, when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can change one face down defense position Subterror monster face up attack or defense position to negate the attack. You can only activate one the hidden city per turn. I like this card. I like this card as well. This is what I like about Subterror. They really have a flow going. I feel like just from the first line of support they had a flow going. And these cards kind of show you the beginning. But they actually got 4 new cards that are pretty good as well. And here we have Subterror Ultimatum or something like that. It's Pyro, level 12, 3000 attack, 1800 defense. And of course, flip. You can change all other face-up monsters on the field to face-down defense position. You can only use the effect of Subterror Behemoth Ultimatum once per turn. So that's pretty good. You can flip all your opponent's monsters face down and all that. So that's pretty. You can change all other face-up monsters on the field. So you can change your own as well. That's pretty sweet. I like this a lot. You can basically change all other face-up monsters on the field to face down defense position. That's pretty sweet in my opinion. And of course it has the same effect like the other ones where you can basically change to defense position during end of turn and all that. So it has the same. I can show you. Here's the effect. But I like that you can basically change all other face-up monsters to face-down defense position. That's pretty sweet. I like that. It's a level 12, so it has 3000 attack and 1800 defense. That's pretty sweet as well, so I like that as well. And the next one I want to talk about is Subterror Behemoth Stygo Kraken. It's a Sea Serpent, level 5, 1400 attack, 2600 defense. So, yeah, on Earth. Flip, you can target set cards on the field equal to the number of Subterror Behemoth monsters you control, destroy them. You can only use the effect of Subterror Behemoth Stygo Kraken once per turn. Okay, this card works really well with this card, because if you use this card and basically you flip all, well, it doesn't work really well with this, but it can work really well with this card if you flip all your opponent's monsters face down, and then you flip basically all your monsters face up. Because it says you can target set cards on the field equal to the number of Subterror Behemoth monsters you control and destroy them. You can only activate it once per turn, but if you can first activate this card and basically flip all your opponent's monsters face down, and then you use this one and you have a lot of face-up Subterror Behemoths, you can probably pop a lot of your opponent's cards, because it says you can target set cards on the field equal to the number of Subterror Behemoth. So it's also spells and traps as well, so even if they have spells and traps, you can pop that as well, so that's pretty sweet. I like this card. It has potential that it can destroy so much in your opponent's side of the field. It all depends on how many Subterror Behemoths you have face up, I think. I don't think face down Subterror Behemoth is counting to this, so you have to have them face up, you can't have them face down, so I think that's probably the thing you would have to play around. But it has the same effect where you can flip it face down once per turn and all that, so it's pretty sweet. I think this has potential as well. It's definitely more of a, like, it feels more like a destruction card than anything else. And the next card is Subterror Behemoth Borrowing. You can banish, it's a normal trap. You can banish one Subterror monster from your graveyard. For the rest of this turn, face down monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Okay, you just banish one Subterror monster from your graveyard, and for the rest of this turn, basically your face down cards cannot be destroyed by card effects. That's pretty damn solid in my opinion. And your opponent cannot target them with card effects. And your opponent can even target them with card effects. That's pretty sweet. If this card on your field is destroyed by card effect, you can add one Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard to target one Subterror monster you control, change it to face down defense position. So basically, this card protects your Subterror monsters if they are face down from being destroyed by card effects and from being targeted with card effects. So you can target them with card effects and you cannot destroy them with card effects. And then of course, if this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect, you can add one Subterror monster from your deck to your hand, and of course you can banish this card from your graveyard to target one Subterror monster you control and change it to face down defense position. I like this card. I think this has a lot of potential as well. The last card is an Earth Fairy, level 3, 1600 attack, 1400 defense, Subterror Nemesis Archer. Amazing artwork as always. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's face down defense position monster and you control another Subterror monster, you can shuffle that opponent's monster into the deck. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Subterror monster from your deck in face-up attack or defense position. You can only use the effect of Subterror Archer Nemesis once per turn. So basically, if this card at the start of damage step battles a face-down defense position monster and you control another Subterror monster, you can shuffle that card back into the deck. You can shuffle that card back into the deck, no questions asked. I love that. I love that you can do that. It's so sweet because controlling one Subterror monster with this card wouldn't be that impossible. And when this card just attacks, you can just shuffle it back into the deck, no questions asked. And if this card leaves the field by battle or card effect, and it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Subterror monster from your deck in face up or face down defense position. You can only use each effect of Subterror Nemesis Archer once per turn. It's pretty obvious. If you could use it multiple times, it would be a little bit too good in my opinion. But what do I think about Subterror? When it comes to spirals and Subterrors, I think Spiral has a lot of potential in the future, depending on what support it gets. I would say Subterrors, in my opinion, is the more powerful archetype because it has draw power with this card, so draw power. It has basically banishing effect with this card, which is not too bad. Because you can target most of your opponent control and banish it, so that's pretty sweet. This card is pretty much a tutor for the whole archetype, that you can send a Subterror to graveyard, then you send this card and another Subterror equal to that or exceeds that level and you special summon that monster. And when this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon it back if, for example, if a Subterror monster you flipped face up while this card is in your grave, you can special summon this card. But you can only use the effects of Subterror Nemesis once per turn, so that's pretty sweet. But that it can monster reborn itself, that's pretty epic. This card, I don't have to say anything. This is an important card for the deck. It's a hidden city. Just that you can add a Subterror monster when you activate, it's pretty sweet. You can only activate once per turn, but that's not a big deal in my opinion. This is a really good card for the deck. This card and this card is probably the ones I don't know them. It's probably the worst ones, but it can have potential. This card can destroy set cards on the field up to the number of Subterror monsters you control, so that's pretty sweet. And this card can flip all the cards face down except itself, which is pretty sweet as well. And then of course this card, it just banishes opponent's it just puts opponent's monster back into the deck, I would say. So it just attacks during the damage step, you send a monster back into the deck if it's face down, and if this card goes to the graveyard or battle or by card effect, you can basically special summon a Subterror monster from your deck face down or face up, depending on what you want to do. And this card, I mean, it's pretty sweet as well, just that you can banish a Subterror monster from your graveyard, and for the rest of the turn, you can't target or destroy your monsters cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. That's pretty damn sweet. And you can add a Subterror monster from your, and if this card leaves the field, thanks to a card effect, you can add a Subterror monster from your deck to your hand, and you can basically banish this card to change a Subterror monster you control to face down defense position. So I think that's pretty sweet. I think this archetype has a lot of potential. But what do you think about this archetype? Personally, my favorite cards is Subterror's Behemoth Stalag, Subterror Uma Strix, of course Nemesis Warrior, Nemesis Archer, she's pretty sweet, and of course Subterror Behemoth Borrowings, and of course the Hidden City. These two are the probably ones that I would stay away from. But what do you think about this archetype? Do you think this archetype has a lot of potential? Do you think this archetype has a big future? I think it has a lot of potential. Just like Spirals, if it gets the right support, this can be amazing. But that's if it gets the right support. But please tell me what you think in the comment section down below. And as always, comment, like, and subscribe.